Okay, we're back. We're doing this after God knows how long. Hey everybody.
Hello.
Howdy,
Hello.
howdy, howdy.
Hello.
Hello.
GGM Lightspeed in Big 2025. And I guess just to differentiate it from what we were doing before, we were doing like themed batches of episodes. So when we call in different suggestions, like it's under like the umbrella of a specific theme. So this one we wanted matchups that were like divine characters versus characters from hell, like called it heaven versus hell. Um, and we'll try to tally up which side ends up getting more wins, but as you can see, maybe you'll be able to see with some of these matchups, we played pretty fast and loose with what was allowed as heaven or hell, but regardless, we've got a few episodes. We got a few debates for this episode, and then we'll be recording another one. And then, if you're interested in suggesting some, or you just didn't have any ideas for this wave, and we drop another, we're gonna have more themes that you can suggest episodes under. So there'll be a link in the description for the server, and you can send us your ideas there. So the first one is Dante, Devil May Cry versus Record of Ragnarok. I'm guessing just the cast of Record of Ragnarok. And who's debating on this one?
I am Nero. I'll be debating for Dante.
It is me, Huntsman, and I am debating for the gods of Record of Ragnarok.
Okay, the gods of Record of Ragnarok. All right. So scenario. Essentially, Dante will be the sole fighter for humanity and will need to beat each god competing in Ragnarok, gauntlet style, to prevent humanity from being wiped out. It will be equal stats, so no power scaling, because scaling for both series can get messy. Thank you. Okay, so it's just... I'm not, like, super familiar with Record of Ragnarok. Is there more to this than it's just being a fight?
Well, that depends. Are we doing Dante goes through a gauntlet of all the gods, or he just needs to win enough rounds to count as a win? Because there's 13 total rounds in it.
Okay. Then Dante is first in their suggestion, but you two can approach this however you like. The floor is yours to...
I would just want to make that more specific if we're going for rounds, or if we're going Dante just has to beat all of them.
Okay.
Okay. Do you just want to do like he can just if he beats enough of them because it's easier on me because I prefer that. So.
I mean,
And
I'm
it's up to you.
fine either way, really.
Okay. I guess yeah, we can do the latter, but I would want you to go first, Huntsman, because I did a bit of research into Ragnarok, and I don't really yeah, I just want a refresher.
Just to set the stage, we can talk about Record of Ragnarok's gods first.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's introduce us to the characters.
All right, this does make it a little easier on me if we're going by rounds, because I only have to talk about 7 as opposed to 13. So that's going to cut it down a bit. Okay, so essentially, Record of Ragnarok is a series where the gods all get together in this big meeting room. They all hold a vote as to whether or not humanity deserves to live for another 1,000 years or another million years. I guess it depends on translation, whatever. But this time around, they decided, yeah, no, humanity's got to go. They screwed up too much, and they die now. But then the Valkyries come forward. They're like, no, we're going to invoke this one clause in the godly constitution over here that says humanity gets one chance, and that's to fight in a tournament against the gods to make sure they don't die. And that's essentially what happens. The gods say, okay, we'll let that happen because we're obviously going to win. It's just, we're going to have fun now. Turns out, not as easy as they thought. So the humans got super powerful and everything. And the tournament goes on to see whether humanity dies or gets to live on. And as such, they're divided between rounds, one human, one god. All right, let me start to get into the gods here. Well, I think I should get the overarching points for the gods out of the way first and foremost. Through various statements, they have kind of hinted towards they only really ever need one god to destroy humanity. And it should be noted, all divine characters in Record of Ragnarok are immune to human weapons. No matter how strong a human can be, they cannot harm a god without some sort of divinity. Sorry. So this would include stuff like nuclear weapons with massive blast radius and atomic destruction, I guess, from all that. This is, as stated, Dante versus all the gods. There's one thing that's I think is going to be very prevalent here. Dante is fighting by himself in each round, but anytime he wins, that's one more round that the gods got to watch him and see how he fights. So they're going to slowly learn more about him the more he wins, if he gets that far, of course. So as far as the first round that Dante has to go through, he has to fight Thor, who is counted as being physically being the strongest of all the gods. Now, normally this might be an issue because you'd have someone strong enough to possibly one-shot Dante, but of course, stats being equalized, their strength is equal. But also, their speeds are now equal as well, which would be an issue for Thor because he fights so slowly with a giant hammer. But now that's not as much of an issue, so I could see that being a difficult thing to overcome. But there's not really much to Thor. I guess he is just the strong guy. So if anything, he would just be the I'm blanking on a term.
Like the trial round. Like
he's the trial round, basically just to see if Dante's even capable of being here, just to prove that he is worth being there. I think Dante probably could beat him, but it should be said that Thor is very strong. He's very, very resilient. At the very least, he's going to really make sure that Dante knows this is not a joke. This is not something you could just screw around with. Oh, and banking on the point from earlier, I don't think most of Dante's weapons are going to be effective here, as, I mean, I'm not familiar a ton with Devil May Cry, but I don't remember expressly stated that Dante has a divine weapon of any kind, so I don't know if he actually has a go-to weapon that's going to be effective in the long run. There is a Demon King later down the line, so I think at least physically Dante should be able to harm them with his bare hands, but his weapons, I'm not sure. I really don't know. Second round, we're going 0 to 100 here, because we're going from Thor to Zeus, the godfather of the cosmos here. Stats equalize, it's not really anything that great. I mean, Zeus is just a hand-to-hand fighter, so I guess Dante has that advantage in Arsenal, but there is one technique Zeus has that I think is going to throw him for the loop, and that is the fist that surpassed time, which he used to defeat his father, the god of time, Kronos. And this is not just he punches at the speed of time, I guess, but like time physically stops before he even moves to throw the punch. Which you could interpret it as him physically stopping time, or he's moving in frozen time. I know Dante has a time stop weapon, but at most that just evens the playing field, because if it's speed equalized, both of them can just move in frozen time. That fixes nothing. It's just a moot point at that point. I said point twice. Okay. Zeus is also extremely durable. Like, his head got twisted all the way around and he just twisted it back in place and he was fine. And then if Dante pushes him into a real corner, he can activate his Adamus form and just compress all his muscle into his body to the point for multiple minutes. He could just be throwing full force punches, even ones that have surpassed that fist that surpassed time right there. And moving on, just because I don't want to drag on for all of these.
I was gonna say, like, I know you have a pretty large cast, so
I know. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say maybe we could talk about Dante a little bit and then open the discussion. And if you need, that's when we can bring in like other
just start throwing out more
other
names.
characters.
Okay. All right.
Okay, cool.
All right.
But really solid argument so far, though.
Yeah, you're doing
I only
great.
got through 2 of the 7, but yeah, I'll try to keep it short with the others.
No, you're good. Okay.
Well, I think it's only up from there, so I guess.
Let's hear what I want to hear a little bit about Dante, though. See what he could do in this scenario.
So Dante is a half demon, half human devil hunter, and all that. And because of his unique heritage, he gains he has like a unique healing factor that like no other demon possesses. He can like basically he can just basically shrug off like tons of damage. He can heal from getting stabbed and whatnot. So and he doesn't really, and he just has like a just due to his like human spirit, I guess he's very stubborn and doesn't go down. And I guess this being a gauntlet, like what Huntsman says, that the gods will like learn about like what Dante like is. But the good thing about Dante is he's a one man. He's like a one man arsenal. He has a large variety of weapons by his side. Some of his weapons called devil arms, which are made from demons turning into the weapon. So I feel like there's an argument that like Dante's weapons can like harm the gods if since they're not man-made, they're demonic and whatnot. Like his new main sword, the Devil Sword Dante. He has explosive swords. He has Lucifer, which are like explosive swords. Yamato, which cuts dimensions in half. Gauntlets that focus on power. Focuses on power over speed. He has fire and ice nunchucks, and one of my favorite weapons, the Cavalier, which is a motorcycle that can split apart to become twin buzzsaws. And of course, he also has long range options, he has long range options like a shotgun, ebony and ivory, which his twin pistols, and a grenade gun and whatnot. But I know I went down from demonic weapons to basic firearms, but like these guns can like harm like demonic entities and whatnot. And also Dante is like he has a large variety of skills he can use. He's like really good at fighting. He has like what Huntsman said, he has Quicksilver and Bingle at Time, which can stop time. With Doppelganger style, he can summon a copy of himself. Royal Guard is a style specifically made for building up damage via blocking attacks to unleash one powerful attack. And then there's Sin Devil Trigger, which boosts which boosts Dante's power and gives him the ability to fly and whatnot. And Dante's like whole thing is taunting opponents and catching them up by slipping up. Again, I'm just imagining like because they are gods, they view themselves as like superior over like normal humans. So I feel like that tactic will just keep working on the gods, and he has like there's tons of experience just fighting like tons of demonic entities and whatnot. That's my argument, my main argument.
Okay. Very fair. So what I'm gathering is like we have to make the distinction on whether or not demonic weapons can harm the god realm of gods.
I can actually say that's a fair point because there is a demon god in the lineup named Heijin. The anime calls him Papias, which, in my opinion, worst name, but whatever. Who's literally just a demon king who morphed his own body into weapons to use in the fight. So I think that is a fair argument to make that Dante's weapons would harm the gods. So I'll leave that.
Okay.
But I did think of another thing that would help. The gods do actively like change how their lineup goes as the story of Ragnarok goes along. Like it is not a set roster order, I guess. They will change who they think is going. Like Anubis has been set to go for like 2 rounds now, and he just keeps getting overshadowed. He's like, it's my turn, then someone just pushes him off the table. So I think with time, with those first few rounds to learn about how Dante is, they can make better decisions with the roster they have. Like one god I think is going to be difficult for Dante in any situation is Susano, who in his entire lifetime watching over humanity has learned every single individual sword style in all of human history. I know Dante has largely kind of his own, but that doesn't help if he has to deal with like millions of potential techniques against Susano, who has now also been given time to learn how Dante fights on his own as well. I guess there's also Apollo who has a wide variety of weapons himself and can just make new ones out of his golden threads. Then there's also Heracles, who has, on top of ridiculous pain tolerance, like, also has a small arsenal of weapons and ways to boost his stats beyond the initial equalization.
Well, that's okay. So, because I feel like it would just there's a lot of stuff that could go in circles with like Dante's creativity versus them altering their lineup.
Mhm.
So I think the core of this argument comes down to what specific gods have a surefire mean to kill Dante, and what is Dante's like best weapons for killing the gods? If either of you have like anything off rip for that.
Uh,
Because this is really just a fight.
Mhm.
Like a more convoluted fight.
I guess like a Yamato is a pretty good one. The dimension cutting sword, and I guess the devil sword Dante is comparable to Yamato, so I guess those would be his two like biggest things coming into the fight. And
Okay.
I guess I should mention Devil Trigger is like an automatic power boost. So like if he triggers that, he'll always just have the stat advantage. I guess. That's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm. I think Zeus is still gonna be an issue because, of course, Dante can't stop time, and obviously he's going to have trouble breaking Zeus in the first place. Especially because you're considering this is a guy who has fought in multiple wars and is comparable to gods like Hades, who have held back entire armies of demons on his own.
Well, Yamato cuts through dimensional space. It's not really a matter of like strength.
Yeah. And I guess
Yeah,
I should mention Dante's as like he's fought like all kinds of demons who have fought like in a war against Sparta, his dad basically, and like he's just shown off that like he can match them. So you can say, I mean, obviously not as much as the literal god at time, but he can keep. I can argue that he can keep up at least.
Mhm. I'm trying to look at points that aren't going to go in circles here.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I could see Apollo possibly eventually overtaking Dante because he does have the innate ability to become more powerful as the fight goes on. The more like the crowds actually like him, I guess, because there's that. So the longer he fights Dante, the more he's probably gonna get stronger. So,
I mean,
and
if we're
again,
talking about winning like fanfare, Dante is naturally like a very charismatic and flashy character.
mhm.
So I'm not sure
Yeah,
if that would be a deciding
yeah,
factor.
yeah. It's not really a deciding factor, I guess. It's just half the arena is filled with gods, the others with humans. So,
Right.
but
He's
Dante
he's
doesn't
fighting
really
on
get
behalf of
stronger in that
humanity.
situation. But okay, okay. Susanoo does have like his ultimate technique, the Musoken, which is an unarmed sword. Quite literally the peak of all swordsmanship in existence, where he can, without a sword actively being in his hands, he can literally attack you internally without having to go through any defenses, I guess. So he cuts you and the inside of your arm is completely eviscerated, I guess.
Is But I imagine that's something I'm debating. I'm sorry, I'm debating on behalf of Dante. I just know he also has like
I know.
pretty strong regeneration.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about his regeneration is that it doesn't heal it doesn't heal lost limbs. That's an issue. But like,
Huh.
yeah.
It heals. Dante's regeneration can heal lost limbs. Like it's regenerated. Like his arms and legs before. The thing is that Dante's regeneration works off as like his demon magic, if I recall correctly, and like a stamina is like a big thing for him.
I do have another question. How
especially if he's
long
going-
can Dante fight? Because like he's the only one there, and he's going through every round. How long is he gonna be able to keep
fair.
fighting?
Are
Yeah, I was
these
about
rounds
to-
like
about to
back
ask.
to back, or does he have downtime between them?
There's maybe like there's anywhere between like they don't really make it specific. They there could be as much of an hour, but they don't give a specific time.
Okay, so not a ton, generally.
Okay.
It's very brief. It's like enough for people to go to the bathroom or something.
Well, that's very considerate of the gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not heartless. Not all of them are egotistical. So Dante taunting every single one of them into making a mistake is not going to work. By the way, I just remembered.
We want you all to die,
they do
but
have
we're gonna go let
Buddha
you
there,
relieve
so-
yourselves.
Not that most of them need to, because it's the arena's in the afterlife. They're all dead anyway.
Oh.
Fair enough then.
That's a good point, because if it's true what Tiki says about like his regeneration working off a limited pool of like demon magic, then doing these back to back is really gonna mess with him.
Right, that's fair.
I just personally think like Yamato is such an immediate solution to this type of conflict. That is like I think Dante, from what I have heard of these arguments, I'm more convinced by how he's gonna approach these fights. The issue is just he has to do so many of these. But then again, he doesn't have to beat them all, right? He just has to beat a majority.
He has to beat 7 in order to get the majority of 13. But he's not allowed to lose a single one up to that point.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, like I know there's like way more nuance to the argument, but unless there's like any final points you guys want to bring up, we could bring it to a vote soon.
Okay.
I guess I would just try to like none of the other. There's not a ton of like standout abilities that I think are super game changing. Just a lot of ones I think would be very tedious for Dante to deal with. Like for Dante to deal with an army of clones made by Loki, I think that's just gonna sap away at his stamina. I think if he goes up against like Beelzebub, he's gonna have trouble dealing against his like energy shields and whatnot. I think if he fights Hades, he's dealing with another demon hunter. If he's up against Zero Fuku, the more he taunts him and makes him mess up, the stronger he's gonna hit him if he eventually lands that hit. If he fights Shiva, he's dealing with someone who could just light themselves on fire, which could potentially harm his healing factor's effectiveness during that round. Then Heracles that's really going to put a hurting on his stamina, because Heracles is ridiculously resilient. He has like a tattoo that covers his entire body that even an inch of that would cause every other god in existence to be in agonizing pain, and he is completely straight-faced during that. It's at the very least, he's going to really put in the work to beat Heracles if he has to fight him.
Mhm.
Right.
And I think like because they are not switching opponents, them like I think these what ifs are more likely to come into play because they're only fighting Dante. But did you have more to say about him, Nero?
I'm trying to remember like what's like the the limit to Dante's stamina, because I know he's obviously like superior to like your normal Joe and whatnot. I forget like if because I know like the climax of DMC5 and I know DMC3 takes place over the course of a day. I'm pretty sure, and Dante was like he seemed no worse for wear like during those moments. So I guess those are like, but like in the scenario if he's like pushed to the extreme, I guess. But like I'm still confident in Dante because for one, I'm debating him, and two, like all of the weapons that Dante has, and I guess like his different like fighting styles and whatnot, and like I know like most of like the gods' abilities are like separate, or like separate between the gods, but like all the Dante stuff is like he just has. So it's like I feel like that's
Right.
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the combo of Quicksilver plus Yamato, I feel like that's pretty strong.
So we can bring this to a vote since it seems like there's a lot for both sides. We can start with Adam and then go down the list.
I think my gut is leaning more towards Dante. I think he's got what it takes to pull this off.
Okay, Aqua,
I think I'm leaning Dante. Seems like he has more going for him right now.
DJ.
Hello.
Do you have any? Did any side sway you?
I would probably go Record of Ragnarok here. It just seems like that the gauntlet is too big, and that Dante like having like a notoriously, not even notoriously, but having to run on fumes basically the entire time, like it's gonna eventually wear him out.
All right, Ducko.
Yeah, I would agree with what DJ is saying. Like, if the stats aren't really a factor, that one has like a limited amount and he can't afford any fuck ups. Pretty much.
GA.
I think I'm also leaning the Record of Ragnarok gods right now for similar reasons, along with the fact that, like, even if Dante has, like, a few options that would be, like, super reliable win cons, if he brings those out too early, the gods are gonna probably have some bullshit power or technique that would be able to circumvent it and get around them. That's what I think.
I'd even say, for the record, I would also side with Dante. So it's 3-3 right now, and then there's Nico, Larry, and if we need a tiebreaker, we'll call on Jav. All right, Nico, you have any?
Oh yeah, I vote for Dante because I just believe I don't think I've heard anything that feels really like a game breaking on the side of the gods when it comes to like going against them. So yeah.
All right, Larry.
I'm gonna have to go with the Record of Ragnarok people
Fuck.
because
Okay.
my bad. Sorry, but
No, you're good. No, that's not. Vote with what you believe. Don't vote to win the poll.
Because what my thing is the fact that because these guys aren't chumps. Even if Dante could win a 1v1, they're not gonna go down easy, especially with all the even all the little bits that Hunter said that would just be tedious at best would be really good at just wearing them down. Making things annoying for him, especially since he's not only gonna have at best an hour to like rest in between matches, and I think that will eventually catch up with him.
Basically, in a stats even scenario, he's basically fighting a bunch of high difficulty fights, one after the other, and that's where I'm leaning.
Especially since I don't think his standard, just his more basic weaponry is gonna cut it.
We're 4-4 now.
Ragnarok characters can be fucking crazy. So yeah.
Jav, I'm gonna need you to, if you're good with it, I'm gonna need you to come in and be our tiebreaker. If you've been
Jav,
here for the argument,
save us, Jav.
I don't think Jav's here.
Jav is gone.
Not here. I did do a little looking into it.
Okay, Butter, you're gonna be our decider.
Oh no.
As far as the stamina thing, that was something I actually did look into, and there is a point where Dante had to fight for like several days straight. So I do think that the stamina thing is not going to be too big of an issue. Yeah, my doc says it was for 39 days straight.
I didn't know that.
So is your vote towards Dante?
Yeah, Dante. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Dante wins.
Dante wins.
You got a chance to debate for Record of Ragnarok again later, but all right. Now I'm up to bat for Alucard versus Spawn, and DJ is going for Alucard.
Hello.
And then this person gave us a pretty chunky scenario that I'll read through. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As the Hell Priests and the Khan Maker begin their plan to invade Earth, Vega searches the multiverse for a potential savior in the Doomslayer's unexplained absence. After a brief search, 2 potential saviors are found, but who would be the better choice? More specific rules. Both must complete the story of Doom Eternal, not including the DLC. Stats are equalized between the characters, both being a similar level of power to the Slayer. Both have access to all aid the Slayer had in the game, not including weapons, but none from their home series. No story restrictions will prevent them from winning simply because they aren't the Slayer. Alucard is no longer bound by vampire rules regarding where he may go, such as across running water or into a home without permission. Spawn can get more necroplasm at ammo pickups. If he runs out and he returns to Hell, he loses the scenario. Alucard can get more bullets through these same pickups. Alucard can choose to unleash level 0, but cannot gain any new souls in the Doom universe. Both can gain any information about this new world from Vega, and both are aware of the limitations mentioned above.
All right.
Okay.
Can you post that down? That's a lot to keep track of. I just want to make sure I'm not breaking the rules.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you paste that in the doc? All right.
I can just post a message link in this server.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm good to go if you want to go, but it's your call.
So it doesn't look like there's any specific issues with Alucard here. If anything, probably Spawn has more restrictions.
Yeah, Spawn is getting handicapped quite a bit.
Yeah, Spawn's getting handicapped quite a bit. If he can't he can gather more necroplasm from the area, but we'll talk about like my counter argument. But my main thing for Alucard is that he has a wide assortment of abilities that will help him out here. The main thing is that probably his weaponry isn't going to be the worst thing here. If he can't get any weapons from his home series, then that's kind of where he's probably going to have a disadvantage at. He only has his two pistols or hand cannons. He has a .454 castle. He has the jackal, and they're basically just hand cannons.
Oh no.
DJ.
T, I think it might cut out.
Tiki's dead.
Tiki's dead. All right,
Hand
so
cannons, cool.
yeah, they're basically hand cannons. The silver isn't going to be an issue for demons because demons in Doom aren't specifically weak to silver or really any holy weapons. Oh, well, they have like some vulnerability to holy weapons, but not particularly. The main thing that's going to really help him out is his immortality and his regeneration. For one, he's not going to be able to die conventionally because he has all of those souls inside of him. Alucard may not have like a huge versatility advantages in terms of weaponry, but I don't see with his like skill with defeating like a bunch of vampires from Rip Von Winkle to the Dandy Man that he's going to have particularly an issue with dealing with any of the demons. Usually demons in Doom, they kind of project energy projectiles or they ram into you really hard with like a weapon or their own body. And considering like all the beasts that he fought with like the tri-war between the Crusaders, the Nazis, and then the Helsing organization, that three-way war, I don't think that he has like a huge experience with large-scale wars that he's going to be able to maneuver quickly from. And even then, since as far as I know, demons in Doom Eternal have souls, that once he kills them and drinks their blood, he is going to have like another soul to the tally, and that isn't a limitation set by the rules. So constantly he's going to be continuously feeding himself either off of the pickups off of Doom's floor, or he's going to be killing demons and adding to his own repertoire. And if things get really hairy, he has his illusions, his telekinesis, and his mind control, so he doesn't actually have to get up close and personal with the demons, assuming that for some reason every single demon in Doom Eternal is as strong as Alucard, which for the most part, if we're just replacing Slayer with these characters and they're already going to be a lot stronger for them, so that's not going to be an issue. There's not going to be a problem with him using level 0. I don't even think he's going to be in a position where he's forced to use it. But if he does, then that's basically he has all of Hell spawn at his command, plus killing demons himself to still replenish his resources afterwards. You kind of need to kill Alucard between level 0 and when he gets another soul to kind of kill him permanently. Otherwise, you're just going to be fighting a losing battle. And I think between Spawn's Necroplasm, which is super limited and like notoriously it's super quick to drain, especially at the beginning of the series, and if he can't go to Hell to replenish it, nor if he's the King of Hell spawn, then he's basically going to be running on fumes the entire time, and Alucard can just continue indefinitely as long as he's in Hell, or as long as he's in this scenario where he can refill himself. And that's basically my argument.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. And I've got my points for Spawn. So, I think what helps in a scenario like Doom is that with Letha, Spawn can effectively store any arsenal that he picks up in either on Earth or in Hell within his cape. And Alucard, from what I understanding, has to like lug more stuff around if he's going to be picking up other weapons. Spawn also has a lot more natural abilities that he can use that aren't as necroplasm dependent, like elemental manipulation and his chains. They still do require necroplasm, but he's not going to be exhausting them as aggressively as he would just like spamming hellfire or just chucking necroplasm at people for explosives. The demons from Doom are mostly mindless and just malicious in nature. So Spawn would be able to recharge a lot of necroplasm just feeding off of their sins alone. And necroplasm itself doesn't have a lot of defined limits, and it's more so up to Spawn's like creative application of the energy. So if there are specific like I know from what I saw of Doom Eternal, there's like energy conduits that need to run on demonic energy or whatever. Spawn would be able to fuel that perfectly fine. So from what I've gathered about like of Helsing, Alucard is skilled with guns, just being like vampiric. He has like naturally enhanced senses, and that leads to his like insane marksmanship skills. But from what I gathered, his usage of guns were because of like those vampiric restrictions. He used them because they were a more like I guess banal method of killing rather than him just like using his magical powers and brutally ripping through people. Meanwhile, Spawn is an expert with guns and military practices and training, all different types of guns. Alucard has the main two, but Spawn's used everything. Uzis, snipers, pistols, rocket launchers. And pretty much, he is a one-man army who is pretty much had his hands on the entire military weapons closet. Not to mention he has more experience actually being in wars and fighting huge like Zerg rushes of demonic enemies, which I think is gonna be a really important distinction. Alucard, from what I've seen, fights humans as he does demons about equally, but Spawn is always fighting demons. He's always like just constantly exploring different hellscapes and dimensions and seeing all different types of demons with bullshit abilities. Both could go for a more physical approach if they run out of ammo, but I don't think that's what you want to be doing in Doom because I watched the boss rush of Doom Eternal, and a lot of them are trying to keep you at bay with lasers or missiles. So you do want to rely more so on projectile abilities to get through all the bosses. Specifically, when they get to the point where they can pick up the Crucible, Spawn has a perfect experience with that because the Sword of the Spirit is basically identical to it in function. It's used to kill demons on Earth. And at the end, when they have to fight the Dark Lord, Spawn's military background would also help him like lead, like command the forces against him. They can't. They would need to be like both tactical and have like some camaraderie in order to defeat that final boss. So what I've gathered about Alucard's ability to gain more lives is that he does that through blood contact, whereas Spawn is just naturally feeding off of sins, like he can just absorb them passively. And when it comes to the technology that's in Doom, Hellsing takes place in the 90s, so it doesn't have that much futuristic technology. But Spawn has been to other worlds and is just generally more in a modern setting, so he'd be closer knit with the type of technology that the Slayer had to use in his journey. And worst comes to worst, if he really is running low on necroplasm, which I don't think will be an issue because he'll either be in Hell fighting monsters from Hell or be using the ammo pickups to recharge, he can also just enter his little pocket dimension briefly to get just some necroplasm on the side. Kind of cheating, but you can argue against that if you want. Just in general, Spawn has more experience entering hellscapes and dealing with interdimensional events. Like, he's crossed over with so many other Image comic series that I don't think putting him in a scenario like Doom would be that jarring for him. Unlike Alucard, who would like have to do a pretty stark like tonal cultural shift to deal with all the like different nuances in technology in Doom. And as you said, the enemies in Doom aren't totally like numb and weak to holy weaponry, but Spawn, if that does come into play when they fight the Dark Lord, Spawn was like effectively chosen by God or like the Mother of Miracles. He said he was the one. He is the angelic one in this situation, more so than Alucard, who may not even have access to his divine weaponry. And I'd argue his regeneration is about as good as Alucard's. There have been multiple instances where his just internal organs have been ripped off, even without Letha or, like, I guess the symbiote on his body. He can regenerate from so much bodily damage that there will be no ripping or tearing when it comes to Spawn. So I just think his better military background, better experience with weaponry, and more experience with these type of scenarios would put him in a better spot than Alucard. I think Alucard is capable of doing it. I just think Spawn does it more efficiently.
That's not a bad position to have. As far as like the cultural shift stuff, Alucard is Vlad the Impaler. Like that's literally what he's supposed to be. So as far as like a cultural shock thing, he was killed in the 1400s and was able to get reacclimated to the 90s pretty quickly. And he has stuff like mind control. And he can and telekinesis. So it wouldn't take him very much longer to understand what he's dealing with because he has been a warmonger ever since he's been alive and dead. So it wouldn't take him very much longer to kind of get used to hell and everything surrounding it.
What I'm still thinking, does he have like a way? Can he do the thing Spawn does, where he like dematerializes his weapons to bring with him?
No, that's the issue. The issue is that, as far as I remember from doing research for him, that he doesn't have a way to kind of like dematerialize weapons and bring them with him. He usually just carries the two things.
Yeah.
He would have to lug around a lot, but I don't think that's going to be particularly an issue because he has his other abilities that he's unrestricted from using. So he'll just probably go towards those abilities rather than anything else. And he is pretty creative with like how he uses his blood and other weapons. And he has his level restrictions, which can boost his stats even further. And level 1 gives him Baskerville, so he'd have like a immediate companion right there. He does need to be in contact with souls for to use them, but the plus side to that is that Alucard also has the ability to bring out familiars from his blood. So when he kills someone particularly powerful, he can take their souls and add them to his army. That's basically what the level 1 restriction is that he can bring out a familiar if he wanted to. Level 0 kind of brings everyone out, but it doesn't mean he can't bring out one at a time. So if he kills like a powerful boss in Doom, then he can just contact their soul. That's part of his repertoire now, that he can bring it to him as they continue. As far as I know, Spawn can't do that without expending a lot of necroplasm, and that's the main thing. The scenario's over as soon as Spawn runs out of necroplasm if he's in a particularly difficult fight. If Alucard runs out of souls, he's not particularly dead. It'll mean that he's susceptible to being dying, but throughout the whole game, he's going to be getting millions upon millions upon millions of souls. That's going to be harder to take out the more of the game he does. Meanwhile, that the necroplasm, he is only going to be running on that 9999 necroplasm, and granted, like he has like really efficient use and make sure to not like get dragged back to hell, but at a certain point the difficulties of managing that is going to rear its ugly head, and I don't think that his experience with dealing with these scenarios is going to particularly help him, because he is like legitimately kind of a dumbass in some respects.
No, that's fair.
And
I mean, like in regards to like shifting like cultures, that's a fair argument that like he adapted to the change in eras. But Doom Eternal is specifically taking you like from Earth to Hell, and I'm pretty sure into space, which is just like a completely, what I mean by different cultures, just completely new terrain to Alucard. He's gonna have to be like a lot more strategic about about the necroplasm use. But I know there's like, for every instance of him like failing and I guess being somewhat bumbling, he is sincerely a super strategic military mind, and that's where I think he's just gonna do a lot better, because the weapons on offer, I don't think there's anything that's going to be foreign to Spawn. I think he's just gonna perfectly adapt to everything that Doom specifically has to offer a lot better than Alucard.
Now, the main thing that that you argued is that like he has experience, like a lot more experience leading armies, but so does Alucard. Alucard led the Ottoman Empire, and then when he died and came back, he was pretty much leading like the forces of the Helsing Foundation, how small they were, until they like kind of escalated and it became that three-way war that he himself was leading.
Mhm.
So I don't think that like, yeah, Spawn has like more experience leading Hellspawn specifically, but Alucard does have like a lot of leadership experience. That's kind of just what he did. Like,
I guess my other main thing against Alucard, because like I said, I think that both can handle this scenario well, and it really is just, am I confident that Spawn will always use the necroplasm properly? Is, do you think Alucard could like, do you think he could wield the Crucible? Because that's a super crucial weapon that the Slayer had to become comfortable with.
he can
in Eternal.
wield the Crucible. He like used swords and stuff as like
Okay.
Vlad the Impaler in the Ottoman, like during his like trek in the Ottoman Empire. And the reason why he uses gun isn't particularly because of his restrictions. He just really likes guns. Like when he was introduced to the concept of guns, he was always pestering, why am I forgetting her name? The leader of the Helsing organization. He was always pestering her to give him like better gun equipment and shit. And by the end of Helsing, where they have like that three-way war between the Nazis, Crusaders, and his own army that was representing Helsing, they're like about to like nuke the place and shit. So like he's really like he really takes to like warfare in general. So it wouldn't take him long to really like adapt and get really engrossed into it.
From what I saw about Hellsing, yeah, it was more so he saw guns as like a cool novelty, which I guess makes sense with like the era he's waking up in. And then
Like
I mentioned
supernatural like entities isn't like he isn't like strange to them. Like even like Dandy Man, like he was like using telekinesis to like throw away like to have like a bunch of cards and projectiles and shit, and he took care of him really easily.
I mentioned that Spawn does have like a pocket dimension he can enter for necroplasm, but it seems like by this person's rules, that would be him leaving the scenario, which is like, wow, yeah, they really cut Spawn's balls off for this
maybe
scenario.
if he leaves 1 foot in the Doom world, he doesn't technically.
If he was allowed into hell, I'd say yeah, Spawn obviously like wins this because he could just go to hell whenever and restore it. But if he leaves the scenario to get necroplasm and loses that way, that's it.
I think that's fair. I'm confident that they both could do it. It just seems like Spawn has a much easier way to lose. Yeah, I'll give it to Alucard. No, I agree.
All right.
Well
argued.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very well
completely, all it took was completely nothing Spawn.
Just chopping his balls clean off.
Is that what you wanted? Is that what...
I think like even if necroplasm wasn't a factor, I think one thing that was winning me over to Alucard's side is just the fact that like once he beats someone, that's them added to his army and he can call upon them basically. So I feel like even if Spawn could just restore whenever, I think the army thing just seems like a big advantage.
Oh,
for
there's
Alucard.
a match later. One of them is winning either Record of Ragnarok or Spawn. So we'll end this one with what the fuck is this? Okay, Kirbo versus Lamb. Who's going for who?
I'm going for the Lamb.
I'm going for Kirbo before any actual Kirby characters.
Okay. Who could better take on the role of Isaac from Binding of Isaac and get to the end of the game unscathed? And stats are equalized.
Wait,
that's not the scenario I saw before. What?
Yeah, what? That
did they change it? Did they? Oh,
that
was this
sounds
one of the
like
ones?
they changed it. Then
Let me look at this.
Was this one of the ones that got re-uploaded?
Maybe.
Here it is.
Yeah, it does say edited.
Okay.
Edited today at 10 a.m. Are you serious?
Oh my god, buddy.
Hey, what was the scenario before?
The scenario was who could enter the other's world and like better spread their religion.
We'll argue that. We'll argue what you guys prepared for. Sorry to Ampharos. We'll do what you guys have, and Lamb is first. So go for it.
Yeah, we'll pay more attention to this stuff next time.
No, that was changed as we were watching.
Like 5 hours ago.
That was changed as we were watching Cal Simone. All right, Jay, your floor is yours.
All right. So the big thing that I think is on the Lamb's side here is considering the two worlds that they're going to be going into. The Lamb is going to be entering Dreamland, and Kirby is going to be entering the world of Cult of the Lamb, which is known as the Lands of the Old Faith. And that place is a complete fucking nightmare shithole for basically everyone living in it. It's completely ruled over by the bishops of the Old Faith, who are just these 4 like monstrous demon gods that have large cults of just like basically anthropomorphic forest critters following them and like offering their powers to them, offering their faith. And like these guys get power through faith. Like they go through transformations when their cult members sacrifice themselves for them. And there is also the one who waits, who is essentially like the origin of the Lamb's powers. But by the end of the game, the Lamb actually defeats the one who waits and basically usurps his position as the god of death in that world. So that's another big point that I think the Lamb is going to have over Kirby, is that whereas Kirby is basically acting as like a spreader of faith that's not centered around him, he's having to spread Christianity to the lands of the Old Faith. The Lamb is the figurehead of his own religion, so he's basically just taking himself and everything that his religion embodies into Dreamland with him. So it's going to be a lot easier for him to basically sell his like cult and his practices to the residents of Dreamland than it is going to be for Kirby to do in the lands of the Old Faith. Which Kirbo's not even going to do that well at anyway, because we see in the terminal montage videos that he sucks at spreading his religion's message. He does like the most generic played out the most played out cliches of spreading Christianity, just like going door to door and like asking people, have you heard the good word of the Lord Jesus? And we see that none of them really give a shit about it. Like, he just gets the door shut in his face every time. And it, like, we saw, I think it was in the same video as that clip, I don't remember which one specifically, but basically, like, when he says, like, oh, but I want you guys to share in God's graces too. And then the people just attack him anyway, and so he just kills them. And that's another big thing. Like, the majority of Kirbo's interactions with people who are opposing him is just immediate cartoon violence. Like, religion only ever comes into play, like, during the final boss, basically, or as just, like, a small running joke to the side. The rest of it is just Kirby basically plowing through everything in his way with barely so much as a sweat. And so I don't think, with how hostile and, like, opposing the lands of the Old Faith are, Kirby's basically just going to destroy the place before he would really think to get, like, a foothold for Christianity in there. Meanwhile, the Knight's cult, or sorry, not the Knight, the Lamb. The Lamb's cult is admittedly pretty shitty in game. Like, the followers usually have to eat, like, pretty poor meals, and their living conditions are kind of subpar, but that's really only because the lands of the Old Faith are such a shithole place to live. If he goes to Dreamland, which is comparatively far more peaceful, has a lot more resources, there's not as many things that are just actively trying to kill you out there, the Lamb would have a much easier time, like, making a cult that, like, isn't as terrible to be a part of, which wouldn't be out of character for them either, because we saw in the webcomic for the game that, like, they didn't want to embrace, like, the darker and more violent, sinful parts of their cult. That really only ended up happening in situations outside of their control. So the Lamb would be much more willing to, like, settle into this new region and spread their religion in a way that would appeal to everybody, especially since there's not really, like, a solid force to oppose them. Like, the big thing that they would have to compete with is King Dedede's kingdom, and King Dedede is kind of a selfish shithead, so it probably wouldn't be too hard to siphon the residents of Dreamland away to their following. Meanwhile, Kirbo is either going to, like, completely fail to spread their religion to this new place, or just end up destroying it before they even really get the chance to do it.
What the fuck? I have never seen Terminal Montage Kirby stuff, so this is news to me. But enlighten me, Adam. What does the good Lord have to say?
All right, so admittedly, I don't think my debate's going to be as elaborate, but I guess I will start off by pointing out one thing. So you say it's going to be a much easier sell for the Lamb, but I do not really think that is going to be the case, because, like you said, the residents already kind of don't give a shit about Christianity when Kirbo spreads it, and, like, I'm sure we're all aware about the whole joke with Kirby games being how they end with, like, these demonic eldritch horrors as the final boss, and, well, these videos pretty much kick that up to 11 by the end. There's always, like, someone who is getting traumatized by even, like, Marks, who has, like, this undiscernible form and, like, casually destroying planets and shit. So, like, I think Satanism, which is basically what this is going to be a much harder sell, because, like, there's always someone, I'm pretty sure, who is coming out traumatized from it in those videos. So, like, I do not think they're going to fuck with this sheep basically preaching demon magic to them if they're not going to listen to Kirby when he's trying to spread the word of God. But on that note, I will say that it is also those same threats that do eventually get converted by Kirbo in the end, because literally all he does in the videos is just he holds up a cross to them, and then they're like, okay, literally God or Jesus, they just swoop in and do the converting for him. Like, I think even
I'm gonna say right now, this does nothing to reflect Galaxy Video's beliefs on, like, religion or Christianity. This is
Thank you for the disclaimer.
Yeah. This big disclaimer. Nothing. Yeah, very, very important.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, even like 02 and the Kirby 64 one, at first you think it doesn't work, but then, like, nope, God just comes in, and then suddenly he's like being baptized in the ocean by Kirbo. So like, I think if worse comes to worse, and people really are just giving him shit, he can just do that to them. Like, I don't really see what's gonna stop him, especially because like GA said, it's a bit much wackier world that Kirbo inhabits, and he sort of embodies that. As we've seen in the iconic Speed of Kirb video, he's insanely fast, can easily get through like the events of the games, do all these fetch quests for people. If he even needs to do that, because he also has like hammer space where he can just pull stuff out of his back if needed, even like fart out his warp stars. So like a lot of the stuff Kirbo is actually going to have to do, I think, is going to get trivialized there. And
Okay.
even
sorry.
yeah, sorry. And yeah, I guess on that note, Lamb's just going to be pretty much out of their element there, because like as soon as he makes any opponents, they're just going to beat the shit out of him. And last point. And I do think Kirbo definitely has like the generosity to back up his claims, because like we do see in like the Christmas Carol video, he is kind to others and will do chores for them. It's like he is willing to help people out if they don't like. If they're not like fighting him or like directly opposing his beliefs, I don't think that he's just gonna annihilate everyone like GA says. So yeah, I do think he's basically that. I just think he can pull it off, and the Lamb has the odds stacked way more against him. Could have worded that a bit more fluently, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So as far as like the big threats, like the final bosses from the games that come along to face Kirby eventually, I do think that like if we're just speaking narratively, the Knight like doesn't or why do I keep saying the Knight? The Lamb. I keep going Hollow Knight. The Lamb does not like have any showings of like super big cosmic strength that like Kirby usually does. I'll give you that on like a narrative level. But like not only are we probably assuming that stats are equalized here, so like the Knight could God damn it, I keep doing it again.
You just
Lamb,
really want to debate for Hollow Knight.
I really do. Someone give me the opportunity. The Lamb would be able to keep up since stats are probably equalized. That and the fact that the Lamb is a very capable fighter of their own. Like they're constantly going into the lands of the old faith to like kill the bishops and like find new followers. Their crown can turn into all sorts of different weapons, and they have a bunch of different like spells that they can cast out, from ones that just do damage to cast ice to like inflict possession to summoning spirits. So they've got a ton of like combat variety on their side that they'd be able to fend those sorts of threats off. As far as like Kirby's generosity and stuff goes, I feel like that kind of gets counteracted on one side by like how you bring up like Kirby going through everything super fast. Like I don't really see them getting the chance to like really spread their message that much if they're speeding through all of these things, because again, the lands of the old faith are a horrible place to live. The average day living there is either scrounging in the dark forest for food or getting tied up to a table by cultists of the bishops of the old faith to be sacrificed to their gods. Like there's not really any great chances for celebration or generosity to be found there. And even then, like the basis for those like generous events is like holidays like Christmas, which do not exist in the lands of the old faith because Christianity does not exist in the lands of the old faith, which I think would also cast like a shadow of doubt on whether or not Kirby could just summon Jesus and God into a universe where they never existed to begin with. And like even with the Bible and cross to back them up, like you mentioned in the 0-2 fight, 0-2 just destroys those outright. So they're not like invulnerable or like unable to be destroyed. And even then in the World of Light video, he just straight up forgets them at home. So like he doesn't always have them on him.
Yeah. All right, well,
the World
of Light thing, I can admit, we all have our slip-ups.
I will say,
like,
I will say, like though, like you said, like one of the main things that was wrong with the Curse of the Lamb was like they're always scoundreling for food, not having anything to fend for themselves. That's just another chance for Kirbo to act upon goodwill, considering he likes, like, including in like the Christmas videos, he, like, donates like cookies, he gives like canned foods, warm blankets to the homeless, serves in like soup kitchens,
Oh yeah.
citizens, that sort of stuff. That's his chance to try the slowly slowly make
Literally,
the showcase his goodwill.
Yeah, but that's done
really,
through like
pretty.
systems that are set up to enable those things, like soup kitchens and whatnot. Like there's no like centralized society outside of the Lamb's cult in the lands of the Old Faith. It's just like a bunch of like scared critters hiding in the woods from these giant monstrosities that are out to kill them and enslave everything. So like
Also, I mean, I would say that Kirbo showing up and then God also showing up is actually going to convert a lot of fucking people. If just this random thing shows up and then you see a thing in the sky, like you see literal God, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm misremembering what you argue for, but from what you argued that if Kirbo shows up, then also God shows up.
Yeah,
I'm just going off basically how I assume it works in the video.
I mean, the way I see it is that everyone's feeding for food. People are getting fucking killed by any demonic forces that are in this land. And then a fucking pink ball shows up, and then you see fucking lights pour in, and it's fucking God. Like at that point, I would be converted because I just fucking saw God.
Yeah,
I
but
also
again,
wanna say
you have
to
no
that-
basis
that-
for what the Christian God is in this world.
That's also true.
Well,
yeah,
I
and
mean,
sometimes
yeah, but
but also guy in the
definitely thinks a
fucking
lot better
sky
than what they
flourished
got
with
going
gold
on.
light.
I feel like
Sure.
Butter hasn't
Because-
said much.
because
Would you mind giving Butter a little bit the floor for a second?
go on, yeah.
Go ahead.
I do want to say just on the point of like he does it through the charity through like soup kitchens and all that. That doesn't prevent just because there's not a society, that doesn't prevent Kirbo from not being able to spread it out. It may be difficult at first. It may be on a smaller scale, but also like once he starts to convert people, I feel that would get more help. That's also what that game is about, is getting a much larger cult. And then if Kirbo's doing this, that will start to build the society, which will make it easier to spread the food and help all around.
Why would
I
the
will
same
also
not apply for the Lamb's efforts in Dreamland?
Well, I mean, like you said yourself, the residents of Dreamland, they don't give a shit about Kirby spreading his Christianity around. So like,
Yeah, but again, the
I
knight
don't see
is
why-
the head of their own religion. They are the god. Like that's much different from just someone spreading around the faith of someone else.
Okay, but also the god shows up in this scenario too, so God would be with Kirbo as well. That argument would apply both ways.
Yeah, I'm
I'd-
seeing
I'd-
some
I
circular
think-
arguments. So my only
I think they're gonna
stance
be
right
scared
now
shitless.
is it seems like the characters from Cult of the Lamb are more receptive to like alternative beliefs, while the characters in Dreamland are like just actually do not want to be preached to.
Yeah, if anything, I think they're just gonna be scared shitless of what the Lamb is pitching to them.
It feels like I'm
Yeah.
walking on eggshells trying to talk about this debate.
I will also say Kobo has spread the message to other universes before, considering he crossed to other universes with like Subspace Emissary. I know he's good friends with Luigi and Simon
Fucking-
Belmont.
quirky
Oh, yeah,
ass scenario.
he managed to bring Ganondorf and Sephiroth to a dinner party. I feel like you can bring these guys. You can like convert these to the
It's
side.
fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But also, I think Kirbo is going to fail if it wasn't for God showing up, because what the fuck is Kirbo going to do fucking running around with the goddamn cross? What, like, no one's gonna... What the fuck does that even mean to them?
I will say
Yeah.
that Cross has exercised like demons before, so you know it does something. I also feel like yeah, kind of more on the naive. I will say I think the animals from Cult of the Lamb are a lot more naive relative to like the residents of Dreamland, who are I think they're more level-headed. They're just more average Joes compared to these guys being exposed to new things. So I feel like in that regard they would just be more like attaching to like whatever faith that would be there.
Sure.
Also, I want to go back to say, like, you say like Kobo's message, like that he fails spreading his messages throughout Dreamland, but in like one episode, episode where like on a Christmas, Kirbo was sick, so he wasn't able to like do anything that he normally does, and all the town went over to him to all the town went over like made like decorated everything, did donations for him, and then surprised him with like a giant Christmas party. So I think that shows the type of influence he has.
Yeah, but that's not really them like following the practices of Christianity, though. That's just them being in the Christmas spirit.
I'll say just to round off the debate, because we are going a little over time. The final argument from both of you, and then we can bring it to a vote if there are no like loose ends currently.
Sure. Adam, you want to go first? I feel like I've been talking a lot.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I don't really have much new to say, to be honest. I just think like, yeah, him being able to get Ganondorf and Sephiroth on his side, and like even if actually, I will say, like even if there's not like any systems already in place, like I'm pretty sure the whole point of the game is that the Lamb is like establishing those systems, right?
Yeah, but that like people don't like go to the Lamb's cult out of their own will anyway. He basically has to like find them in the woods and then like save them from other cultists and then bring them to his cult.
All right, well, I mean, I don't see why Kirbo can't also just do that. I mean, he is still Kirby at the end of the day. He's not just gonna let him suffer, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just played up. But yeah, it's basically my piece.
If we're bringing this to a vote, I'm actually going with Lamb.
Oh dang.
Yeah, can I lay on my
The
final
main thing
points?
is that yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Seth's got one more.
Yeah,
Okay.
So basically, I mostly stand by all the stuff I've already said. The Lands of the Old Faith are a complete shithole. Kirby is basically going to be starting from way further back in terms of making this like a livable society through the practices of Christ. Like, they don't have any basis for the religion in that world, whereas the Lamb brings the basis for their religion with them wherever they go. And like as one more thing, the denizens of the Lands of the Old Faith are generally used to worshiping their idols directly. Like the bishops of the Old Faith are there in the flesh, like being worshipped and stuff. So I feel like if Kirbo is going around destroying all of them, they're just going to end up following Kirbo, and I don't really know if that counts as them like following Jesus. Maybe just through like the transitive property, but I feel like it's a point to consider.
Okay.
All right.
So you were saying about Lamb? Yeah.
Yep, it's Lamb. Because even if there is like, so the main thing that kind of sticks out to me is that if Kirbo, if Kirbo finds out someone isn't following the religion, Kirbo's just gonna fucking fight everybody, and that's probably gonna be a terrible thing to have when trying to build up a new society. And like GA said, they're starting from way back, and I don't think Kirbo has the resources besides cartoonish hijinks and God showing up randomly to really make a basis of an argument that they can actually create a good society off of everything. Because then they'd just be relying on like Ganondorf and Sephiroth, and those two are terrible at that shit. Notoriously terrible at creating better societies. Sephiroth would rather nuke everybody first than fucking try to make a better society for people. And it'd be entirely on Kirbo to make a better world for them, and I don't think they can do that.
Okay. One vote for Lamb.
I think I'm gonna vote for Kirbo.
One vote for Kirbo.
Yeah, I think that they've shown the ability to. I think considering the circumstances, at least how they're described to me as an outsider, Kirbo does have like the ability and the experience to somewhat the opportunities to start spreading his message, and he also just blatantly does have experience converting just demonic gods over, especially since he can also just summon God, and like he converted like a lot of bad people and even just other universes before. So I think he's got it. I think he can do it. The little guy, Kirbo.
Okay. Aqua,
I think I'd also give it to Kirbo for the same reasons Larry listed.
Biffweed.
I've understood maybe 10% of what's been said, so I think I'm just going to abstain.
I'm also leaning Kirbo. Butter.
Kirbo.
Okay, Ducko.
What's the vote total right now?
1 in favor of Lamb, 4 in favor of Kirbo. Don't you go being a contrarian. They'll vote with your heart.
No, go being a contrarian, Ducko. Do it for me.
I mean, I heard what DJ said, but that would just be 2 to 4, right?
Well, Huntsman and Nero still have to vote.
Okay.
And Nico.
Nico.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Right now the Lamb.
Okay. Nero.
I'm gonna go with Kirbo. Also, anytime GA says the night, can we just change the thumbnail real quick?
Yeah. Also, it doesn't fucking. Okay, so even if Huntsman and Nico voted for the Lamb, it looks like looking like a Kirbo sweep right now.
Yeah,
the votes might be stacked against me, but as one last ditch effort, I think we want a scenario where nothing bad has to happen to him. So how about we just hand me the win?
You can't do that.
Oh shit, bro!
Don't worry.
Respectively, you don't want that. Respectively, you don't want that smoke.
It's fun to do this again. This was nice.
It was.
So there'll be more different types of suggestion rounds. So hopefully we can bring this back and make it a more consistent thing.
Yay!
All right.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all later.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yes.